Welcome to Understanding Windows and Doors with CVD Glass. My name's Chris Van Dyke, and today I'm accompanied by two of our stars at the showroom. Yvonne, introduce yourself.
I'm Yvonne Guzman.
Yeah.
And
what's your role?
My new role is...
Well, what is your job title?
I can't remember it. You changed it. What
do you do and what do you specialise in, Yvonne?
Sales and estimating.
Yeah.
Is what I basically do.
And on my right, I've got...
Andrew Bowman, sales and estimating. Very similar to what Yvonne over here does. And I've been with Chris and the CVD team for coming up to a year now.
So just to give you a bit of a background story, a bit of understanding on who we all are and what type of experience that we have in the industry. I started CVD Windows and Doors, CVD Glass, probably about 15 years ago. I actually started working for Bradham's Windows and Doors when I was 16 years old and was working with my dad previously to that. I started probably around the age of 13. I'm 40 this year. So if you just take from the age of 16, that's 24 years of experience. Been self-employed now for over 19 years, sorry. Yvonne, what type of experience do you have in the windows and doors industry, if you want to let everybody know?
I started in estimating, actually in scaffolding, and I was doing that for about 2 years. And then I moved over to windows and doors for a very large company. I suppose we refer to it as a sausage factory.
Yeah, a big home type.
Yeah, home build, like project home
builder.
Yep.
Yep.
And that was a great experience. I was there for a good 4 years before I went on mat leave, and then I came back into windows and doors for a commercial windows and doors company, and I was there for a good 7 years until Chris approached me.
I mean, you've studied at uni as well, Yvonne. What are your credentials and qualifications that you have?
I started at TAFE. I did an architectural tech degree, so I've got a diploma and an advanced diploma, and and then I travelled for many years, and then I came back and did construction management, which I didn't finish. I didn't complete. So yeah, that's where.
Yep. And so how long now in total would you say that you've been in the one estimating space and two aluminium windows and doors?
Well, I would say about 16 years.
In windows and doors or estimating?
Estimating.
Yeah. And windows and doors?
Windows and doors I started in when I was 30. So, actually it's been 16 years, sorry.
So you come to everybody with 16 years of experience in the industry.
That's right.
That's a lot of experience.
Yeah.
Bowie.
Hello.
Give us some context on what you've done, how much experience you have.
All right. Well, I started my journey doing in 1991. I did my apprenticeship as a shop fitter joiner. Within the shop fitting joinery trade, there was aluminium and glass involved, obviously shop fronts. So I guess I started familiarising myself with aluminium way back then. Again, travelled, did a lot of travelling, snowboarding and stuff for many years, and then went back into shop fitting until I think it was about 2003, roughly, 2003, 2004, and that's when I sort of landed headfirst into aluminium windows and doors, and been there pretty much ever since. So about 20 years.
20 years experience.
Yeah, about that.
And you've also had experience installing,
fabricating, estimating, liaising with clients, like the whole workload. Ran a business for about 10 years. So I know all the ins and outs of day-to-day operations.
So you come to us all with an extensive knowledge as well.
I do.
Not only on the ground, installing and fabricating, but also...
Yeah, I can look at things in a different kind of manner. I can look at, let's just say building a frame on V6, which is our software program, and think, well, this isn't going to work for the guys on site, so I've got to change this. And to make it easier for them.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Look, we've learnt some stuff in the whole time that we've been working in the industry.
Yeah.
Some of it we've all learned together. Every day we're still learning. Would you not agree?
100%.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's always new changes to legislation, to specifications, to understanding what works and what doesn't.
Processes.
And processes.
Yeah.
And I too myself are learning every day. So it's not just,
Yeah, I mean, it's an industry that's been around for a long time, but it's just
evolving.
Constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Yvonne, you got some points that you want to sort of raise? I know the reason why I keep looking at you, because I think you come to everybody with such a vast knowledge, okay, and you are you are a mother, okay, and I think it's very important to understand from a mother's perspective as well. Technical information that you're not really going to normally, like clients that come in and see us aren't just generally going to understand, Bowie and I talk a certain language that sometimes, isn't understood because we're very visual or we're very technical or trade sensed. And, where a lot of our clients come into the showroom and they need to see it, right?
That's right.
So talk to us about some of the things that you want to let people out there understand about windows and doors. Is a window from X company the same as another window from another company?
No, absolutely not.
And on paper they look the same.
That's right.
So what are we seeing that's very common when we're pricing a job, for instance, up against somebody else? What are the things that we see that are different? What do you see? What do you see when you're presented with a project to price, and you go ahead and price it the way we price it, right? And what are the fundamentals of that are making sure that we comply? Yeah,
that's first and foremost. Yes.
Yeah. Comply with what?
Well, that's where we ask the builders first what they're after, what they're trying to achieve. If we don't necessarily use, for example, subhead subsill application in a brick veneer, or we wouldn't in a timber stud either. But builders these days there are so many different types of applications, and many all these types are evolving. So we need to get that correct information from the builder first and foremost as to how they're going to plan to install these windows. So do we go semi-commercial? Do we go a 50 mil residential system? Do we go a commercial system with a subhead subsill? And the other thing I learnt with CVD is that you can reveal a commercial system too. So there are just so many options.
Yeah, and when you say those things out, not many people are going to understand what that is.
They're probably, I'm speaking Chinese.
Yeah. But in regards to like compliance for like energy efficiency, which is massive these days, right, guys? Like we're seeing 5 jobs that come across our desk now are all double glazed.
Yeah.
And now we're starting to see at least 2 to 3 jobs being thermally broken. Yeah. And it's only going to get worse and worse, as in worse and worse, meaning better efficiency.
That's where we're heading,
Better efficiency, but it's going to cost you more money.
Yeah, they're trying to regulate energy
efficiency.
Yeah, within the home, so they don't have to rely on electricity to, power their cooling or their heating. They're relying on the actual structure of the build of the house.
We're heading
to
for
regulate
7 stars.
So
a lot of people don't understand what energy is, right? And when you talk windows, what is that? If I don't know anything about windows, and Yvonne, I come to you with my drawings and you say, oh, this needs to meet that rating, you value of 4.5, to us we know, okay, we can get that in single glass, right? But what does that actually mean to everybody? What is the energy rating? What does having energy efficient windows do for us?
Well, we've got 2, and this is in my note anyway, but we've got 2 things that we're going to look at. We're going to look at U value and we're going to look at SHGC. Most people don't know what the hell we're talking about. Like what Yvonne was saying, it's Chinese to them. What are these numbers? Or what do they mean? They don't know that the lower the better. Do you know what I mean? What we're trying to do, SHGC, we're trying to navigate the solar gain of the sun, the heat extracted from the sun, and repel it off the glass. That's your SHGC. U value is your internal measurement. So that retains the heat or the coolness within the building. So, so there's two figures of energy.
Yeah.
One on the outside, one on the inside. That's working together to form, a total value.
So with the U value, the easiest way to put a U value explanation is it's called the radiant heat. So it's the heat that is left over once the sun disappears. From the ground, from the road, from the building. So during the day, you've had all this heat circulate everywhere outside, and then it soaks into the ground and the road, the walls,
the structure of the building.
Structure of the building, but everywhere surrounding the residence.
Yeah.
So when you have a U value number that is low, lower than 4.5, it needs to be double glazed. And we're seeing that happen a lot now because Australia is a hot climate, and it depends in where you are located within the state or the country, which would determine the performance of your windows. And that is so that in summer you get less heat through your windows, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to cost you less money to cool your house.
That's right.
By using the air conditioner.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the other side of it is the SHGC, which Andrew's touched on. And that's called the solar heat gain coefficient.
Yeah.
Right?
Correct.
And the solar heat gain coefficient has everything to do with the direct sunlight of the sun.
Yep.
So what we want to do is like you said, we want to reflect that
That's right.
out of the building, because with the direct sunlight, it's going to heat up inside. So generally speaking, if you have that number, which is less than 0.55, that means that you're either going to have a tinted. What kind of coloured tints do we have?
We've got neutral,
which is
like a blue tint.
Yep.
We've got greys.
Yep.
And green.
Yep. And all of those type of glass, are they thermally safe?
No.
In a laminate, they're not.
Correct.
And that's important to note.
Very important.
Right?
Yeah.
So besides that, then we kind of go to your double silver coated glass. So what type of glass do we have? The names of that?
The low E max.
Yeah. Well, low E max is triple coated. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
That's your maximum. That's the ultimate.
But these are soft coats now.
Yeah.
Now we're going into the high end double glaze.
Yeah.
The low figures.
The low figures. Now the difference between a low E, which is called low emissivity, right, is a low emissivity type of glass, which you're going to get with your Soltec neutral, your Soltec grey, your E-Vantage, your Comfort Plus clear, all of those types of glass, they've got a coating on them that's baked.
Yes.
So they can be used in a single pane. So you can have a single panel and it can be Soltec neutral.
Yeah.
But with that glass, is it a clear view?
No.
What do you see in the glass?
You can see a bit of a haze.
Bit of a haze, right? So if you've got a beautiful home with a sea view, are you going to use a low E product?
No.
Why?
You don't want to see a haze.
Does it look dirty?
Yeah.
It looks like
It gets dirty.
It gets dirty.
Yeah.
You get finger marks on it. It looks like you always have to keep cleaning it. Yeah. And then you talk about, okay, what's a soft coat? So a soft coated glass can only be in a
Double glaze in it.
okay, and the soft coated glass has got like a silver coating on it, and it's a soft coat. It's like a powder, and with that particular glass, you can't touch the inside of it, can you?
No.
Why is that?
Because on the inside of the double glaze system.
Because the coating will come off, right? So this is another standard. So that's why when we're seeing now these luxury homes that we're pricing, we're seeing a lot of what? A lot of soft-coated products being used.
Yeah.
Especially if we're going on high end, you've got a beautiful view. The last thing you want to do is see a dirty haze, right?
Well, we're also seeing that, we've also got to note that, it's not also just the performance of the glass, but it's the total system within the frame that's being used as well.
That's right. So when they calculate the values, it's not just a piece of glass,
That's
right?
Yeah.
It's the actual window itself.
Yeah. So a difference between a hinge door, a sliding door, an awning, a double hung.
Yeah.
You get different ratings
They
with
all
all
rate
of them.
different, yeah.
What are the worst rating windows, Yvonne, in your opinion?
Worst rated windows.
So with double glazed units, obviously a fixed panel performs really well, right?
Hmm.
Then you've got a sliding window,
Oh,
you've got
I
an
see.
awning, you've got a casement. What style of window is
The double hung, I would say.
double hung and awning, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
awning, yeah.
And it's got everything to do with the seals on the window.
That's
That's
right.
right,
That's
yeah.
exactly
and
right.
the way it opens,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the amount of metal that's on it, the metal helps it transfer through
The
as
heat.
well. Yeah.
So that's where we go for the heat transfer, right?
Yeah.
The radiant heat from outside will transfer
Transfer through the
inside.
inside. Yeah.
So what's thermally broken?
Well, that's your ultimate. Yeah, that's your
And
best.
what is thermally broken? For those that don't understand, guys,
Thermally broken is a form of plastic. Let's say plastic.
polymer. Yeah.
That wedges in between, right in the center of all the aluminium extrusion within that window system. So it breaks the heat from the outside to the heat from transferring from to the inside.
It separates the metal.
separates
So
them,
you've got
yeah.
aluminium on the outside.
Yep.
Then you've got
Polymer.
polymer, and then what's on the inside?
Metal
Aluminium
again.
Aluminium.
That's
Yeah.
right. You never see the polymer,
No,
but it's there, and it stops the heat.
and
from-
that stops the transfer,
yeah,
right?
and that's what'll get you down to your very low twos.
And would you use single glazed in a thermally broken frame?
No.
Never.
Defeats the purpose.
Yeah,
right?
completely.
And are you seeing a lot of thermally broken frames come through now?
They're coming up.
It's coming through.
Yeah,
And how?
Working on one now.
And if you're building your own house, would you do thermally broken?
If I had the money.
It's
It's
expensive.
expensive,
Yeah.
yeah.
But what is it going to do for you? The
Wow.
overall comfort.
It pays off.
You get it back
Ultimately
in the
pays
long
off,
run,
that's
right?
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of people are not understanding the true value
Yeah.
of a good window system, right?
It's when you walk into a house and you're like, you're outside and it's say 35 degrees, and you walk inside the house and you're like, oh wow, geez, it's really nice and comfortable in here. And then you can sit there, turn around and say, yeah, and the air conditioning's not even on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
These are all sort of ways to what we're talking about with 7-star.
Yeah. And
The upfront cost is heavy, but
any building cost is expensive,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
but the Windows component is always
It's a lifelong.
Yeah.
You're only going to build
lot
your
more.
house once, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about with Leanne. We've just done Leanne's house, right?
Yeah.
She absolutely loves the windows we've done. We've done a Carina,
Yeah.
92 mil.
Yep.
So what we call a high-end resi,
Mhm.
yeah, without the high-end price tag,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
with the best glass, and that's made a substantial difference.
Yeah.
For
It
her.
has, yeah, and she's noticed it already. And
yeah. We
I don't think
walked
she's
in the
even
other
moved.
day,
Yeah,
and
she
we
hasn't even
noticed
moved
it.
in yet.
Haven't
It
even
was
moved in.
Yeah.
No air conditioner on,
That's
No.
right.
and you've walked in, and the front door and the garage
And
door
the
was
house
still
isn't
open.
even ready.
Yeah, and she's like, oh wow, like she notices the difference. And
Yeah.
where is she? She's way out.
She's
out
in
west
Wellington,
there.
out
Yeah,
west.
There you
yeah,
go.
and
So,
she gets whacked with the sun, the
Yeah.
radiant heat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we've got a display in the showroom, right, Yvonne and Bowie?
Mhm.
And what can clients do? They can come in.
They can come, see, feel, touch.
Yeah, and what display is going to
Understand.
show them the heat that's coming off the sun the best that we've got there in the showroom?
We've got heat lamps underneath our double glaze units. We've got like a strategy where there's the normal
It's all
double glaze
double
unit
glazed.
and then
Yeah.
different types of double glaze units with heat lamps underneath, and you can touch and feel the heat transfer through the glass.
Those glass
And
ones,
from the
yeah.
standard, just double glazed, because I really want to touch on that. I mean, there's a lot of people that seem to believe that, hey, if they're buying double glazed windows from China, right,
Yeah.
that they're good,
Mm.
right?
Because that's what they're being told.
That's what they're being told, right? And that's also part of the reason why we wanted to create this segment, is to inform people. But on our table that we have, how does that double glazed unit with standard clear perform compared to the
You might as well just get a piece of 4 mil float. It's exactly
Yeah.
the same. It's just
Yeah.
2 bits of glass. It does nothing.
It's so
Absolutely
minor,
nothing.
right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't pay for that in your
No.
house,
No,
would you?
but people will charge it.
Yeah. And look, if you're buying windows overseas and they're $40,000 compared to $90,000 here,
Yeah.
and we're using here,
And then they're double glazed.
and they're double glazed,
Yeah.
but we're using single glazed 10-8 Comfort Plus Clear, which
Yeah.
just so everybody knows, that's a single panel glass. It's 2 pieces of 5 mil glued together with a low E coating on it. that actually performs just as good as their double glazing.
Yeah.
But it's more expensive here, right?
Yeah.
Than the double glazed. So would you be buying your windows from China?
Of course not.
Would you be buying your
No,
windows from
mate,
China?
no.
So now that we've touched on a little bit on the energy efficiency, what are other key components you guys believe that the audience that's listening and you know, whether they're potential clients or whether they're people that are wanting to renovate or build, should know about their windows and doors?
Well, I've got something that keeps coming up, and it's sort of helping them understand, I guess, because people I find have the concept at the moment that the bigger the door, the harder it is to move along track. I'm talking like a slider or a stacker, something like this. And they're like, great big doors, it's going to be so hard to push and pull. And they base this whole analogy on the wheels, on the running gear. And so what I've had to try and teach them or get them to understand is that the wheels, no matter how big the glass is, the wheels will rate to carry that glass. So it has nothing to do with the wheels. What it is, it's the friction of the mohair that holds it together, that it brushes along each side. It's the friction of that, and the tighter it is, the more harder it is to push and pull. Now that needs to be firm anyway, so the door's
Water
not
penetration,
and it's not
acoustics,
and it's not moving around. So what I tell them is, it's going to be a very fine line between having a heavy door to push and pull and keeping that firm seal between the sliding door. So yeah, it's not actually the running gear. It's actually the mohair, the friction of the mohair that it slides against.
but also we find that if the incorrect rollers are not used,
Yeah.
then we're going to have that problem.
Which is why we only
But
use heavy duty
we don't
track
use
style.
incorrect rollers. That's why
Yeah.
I can say to them, this will be
Our
That's our
standard.
standard.
Yeah.
Our
Yeah.
standard.
Yeah.
Whereas, it's cheaper to use cheaper rollers, isn't it?
Mm.
And a lot of our competitors are using the cheaper rollers,
Yeah.
right? But I think it's safe to say that we have a big standpoint that
we use
we've
triple
got
or
our
quads.
benchmark.
we have our standard, and that is already someone else's premium.
Yeah.
But we've got our standard for one particular reason, and we don't want to be going back. Like once we do an install, right? Like the last thing you want to hear from one of your clients, either
Call
one of your
out for
clients,
maintenance.
Yeah.
is, "Hey, this is not
rolling correct."
working.
Yeah.
It's not done properly."
Yeah.
Or and we've cut a corner.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that I believe that we certainly don't cut any corners. Do you, Yvonne?
No, we take pride in what we deliver.
about you, Bowie? Do
There's
you cut
no
any
corners. No.
from pricing the job to making
People want
it?
us. There's some people that like try and push us into a corner to cut corners, and I'm like, look, man, not going to do it. I can't do it. It won't rate. With this problem, that problem, we'll be getting called back. You'll have a shit show. Like, we're just not going to do it. So
It's not worth it.
no.
And how important is it to you to make sure that you comply with the documentation you're provided? Both you guys, when you're quoting a job. I mean, start with Yvonne, but I mean, how important it is to you to show the builder that we're complying?
Well, it's very important that I'm delivering compliant, a quote, because ultimately that person, a lot of builders don't even know that they're receiving non-compliant jobs. I just spoke to a builder the other day who received single glazing, non-compliant glass
To the basics.
Yeah.
Or
NatHers
report.
NatHers, and he signs off on it, and because he's been told, or he's receiving a glazing certificate, and he's been told it's compliant when it's not.
I think,
And that makes me, I feel bad for him, of course.
Yeah.
Because this is how, this is,
it's quite
it's common.
rampant.
Yeah.
Right? It's quite rampant.
But
Yeah.
I
industry.
feel confident. I feel good about, what I'm doing for the industry.
Yeah.
And for not only for builders, but for their clients too, that they're receiving the correct,
Yeah, if
product.
it can fall back. It can fall back pretty hard. Like the repercussions can be pretty fierce in the back end. You sign off on a non-compliant item, something happens. You're in a world of pain between you, the builder, and any lawsuit that comes up.
I think the hardest part in all of this is our industry is not regulated.
Yeah.
right?
That's tough. Yeah.
It's very tough, and a lot of people don't know that the Australian windows and doors industry is not regulated. Yes, you do have the membership of AGWA, for instance, that try to enforce something, but they have no legal standing.
That's right. Yeah.
To make somebody comply, they can send you a letter and say, "Hey, we you're a member of us. This was done incorrectly.
Yeah.
You should fix it, and we can cancel your membership." But there's actually no accountability for companies out there.
I think it falls back on the builder, and the client will chase up the builder and just said, you've signed off on it, you said this and said that, and now you've provided me with a non-compliant, performing window and door system, and they sit there and chase the builder about it, and this company will just move on to the next one and do the same thing again.
Yeah. So they just create noise with the builder. The builder will then create noise with the window company if they even bothered to.
Yeah.
And if whether we or not the window company come to the party and try to do the right thing by the builder, but ultimately that's where it ends. I
think there's only a couple of things. It's like if there's money owed to the window company, they'll do something about it, right?
Right.
Or they actually have good morals and they care about their reputation, right? But that second point, there's a lot of guys out there or a lot of companies out there. They only care about the dollar.
If they had good morals, they wouldn't have done it in the first place.
So, I think that's a hard point for us, particularly. Yeah. And that's also a reason why we lose a lot of work when we price.
Yeah.
People look at
it's
your
annoying.
bottom dollar. Tell us, Yvonne, of what you've experienced. People look at the bottom dollar on your quote.
Yeah.
And even though, we're creating a loom video, we're going through the project, we're giving estimated U values and SHGCs on every window.
We've been so transparent, it's not funny. Every bit of information, everything ticks the box. We're happy to help them, guide them through it and understand it more. Hey, they'll say, we've got a quote from such and such that's 20 grand cheaper. Why is that? And well, if you would like us to have a look at their quote, take the money off, take the name off, just so we can compare and see what they've done and what we've done, and let's work it out. They might have skipped something or missed something that it's going to cost them 20 grand in the back end, and they're going to hit you up for a vary, halfway or at the end of the project. So.
That's happened in the past where I've received something that somebody else has supplied, and it's not compliant, and I'll go back to the client and tell them I can't. I'm not going to give you like for like because I'm not going to give you something that's non-compliant.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We won't.
That's why they're cheaper.
That's right, because they're using, like what you were saying before, 638, and we're using a double glaze low E, so
big
means,
difference in price.
Yeah, massive.
What's a vary, Bowie?
Variation. So a variation to the initial quote or price. Yeah. So if your price was $100,000 and you've gone halfway through the job and you're like, oh shit, we missed this, this, and this, and then you say to the builder, well, you signed off on it, you need this, and it's $20,000. It can cost you as much or as little as they want to charge you because you're halfway through the job, you've got to get it done. It's a variation. Variation to the original contract.
And how many times do you see it where people are giving this bottom dollar price,
base
price,
well,
and then after they won the job,
it used to
for variation.
It used to be a big trick of the
trade
in the 90s and the early 2000s where big top tier sort of companies went in and fought for the price at the bottom dollar. Got in with the contract, beating someone by, a couple of million or whatever, and then just pumping the client with all these variations throughout. And that used to be the thing. I think people have caught on since then. So they're happy to really go into a lot more detail with their pricing and their quotes and making sure that they don't get slugged with that bottom dollar. there might be variations. The client might decide, hey, while we're doing this, let's do this.
Let's do an extra window.
And that's that's part and parcel. That's up to the client's discretion. But
there's been a change in design with the builder
Which
or
is
the
very
architect
on them not being able to construct the wall a particular way, and now we have to add additional items.
That's right.
But
that's different.
They happen. That's very minor.
Yeah. But when you go in with the original
when you purposely
contract,
go in,
at the low end, just to win that contract, and then afterwards sitting there slugging them, dollar
I can't
after
do
dollar.
that on a morally. I can't do that.
Yeah. And I think that's another important thing with us too, is we've got that moral high ground that we're going in with. We're going to give you our best price at the start. We're going to do our best to give you the best price, but we're also going to make sure that we comply, and that we're not going to then turn around and hit you with all these variations.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Right. Now, there is sometimes that we're all human. Sometimes things do get missed on jobs.
Mistakes,
or the documentation that we're provided by the architect or the builder or the client is not 100%.
Well, it wasn't revised,
It's
or
a
they didn't give us the revision.
And some things do get missed, but we're, I'd like to think that once that happens, what's the first thing that we do?
We correct it.
And we let them know.
Yeah, we talk to them, yeah.
And we're not like some of those companies out there that just add 100% on top of that variation.
Yeah.
Because now we've got, something that's going to cost. So now we can make more. We can make money on this job.
That's right.
We're actually 95% of the time we're either absorbing these little varies, right, or we're doing them at next to nothing or cost price. Because we don't, we pride ourselves on no variations.
Yeah, that's
I'd like to think,
and that's why we spend the time in these quotes and doing all this, so we don't get to that point. Do you know what I mean? So if there is a circumstance where it happens, it's like what you said, Chris, like it's going to be, change of design or a addition or a revision from the client. So.
Yeah. And how important is it that people understand those small items, or builders? How much time? Let me ask you another question. How much time do you spend trying to explain particular items to builders so that they understand why we're different?
I go into a lot of detail. I spend a lot of time on my quotes, as you know.
Yeah.
I'll take screen grabs. I'll make it as dummy proof as I possibly can, to make the builder or client understand. You got a standard interlock, for example, which is a wider interlock, 35 mil, is it?
The wide interlock, the standard one, is 45 mil.
45.
Yeah.
And I'm giving you a nicer slim interlock, 19 mil. That's a difference. I've allowed for aluminium fly screens.
The mesh?
Mesh. They haven't allowed for screens at all, or they've only allowed for fiberglass mesh. Aluminium is, slightly better, slightly durable.
Hardware.
Seals are a big one too.
Standard hardware. What's our standard hardware? We have a standard range.
Our Doric.
Yeah.
Our Doric hardware.
But is that normally a standard to everybody in the industry?
No, that's a premium.
Yeah.
That's lovely hardware.
Yeah. Would you use it on your place?
I would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Bowie?
I've got Verta at my house, mate.
Oh,
Verta and Halliday Bailey, big time.
But that's also, you're talking about then types of hardware, and they increase the price, do they not?
Hardware's a big one.
Yeah.
But it's it's what you're trying to achieve. Are you building to sell? Are you building a duplex? Are you building forever house? Are you building on the water? Are you building out a dural? It's very
versatile. The designs are very versatile, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And how important it is. Like, we need to ask some questions. When people ask, "Can you give us a price?" What are the questions we?
Well, we say,
know?
Okay, the ones that I like straight away is we need to know colour. We need to know is there a natives
and not
or
just
a
any
basics?
colour.
Yeah, that's right.
We need to specify.
Is there a certain colour? Is there a type of colour? How far are you away from ocean? Is it subhead subsill? Is it you want timber reveal?
So let's stop for a second. Going on colour because massive.
So much involved.
Massive.
Yeah, just white. I'm like, oh my god, there's like 50 of them, and don't ask for black because there's 100 of them.
Yeah.
So you've got standard powder coat.
Yeah.
Standard 10-year warranty.
Standard, but is it 10-year warranty close to the ocean?
No.
No.
No. So there's
Definitely
no
not.
warranty.
No.
Oh.
Void.
It voids warranty.
And what's that warranty include? Faking, fading, and peeling.
Yep.
Yeah. Multi-res. Yeah.
Duratec.
No, but can you use standard warranty?
Of course not.
Okay. So that's another thing that we see a lot, right?
Mm.
People are doing multi-res. And if you're asking what a multi-res is, it's a low to medium apartment building or high-rise, right?
Class 2 building.
Yeah, or class 2 building. That adds another layer of what you require from the windows if it's class 2,
Yep.
Yeah.
right? So there's all these technicalities and standards
Yeah.
that if you were to come in, you're relying on us to provide you the right quote.
Mm.
Yeah, if we're talking, 200 square metre plus job of windows and doors, going from a group 1 powder coat to a group 5, is going to be a big difference in money, but we've got to do it.
You're going to add sometimes, depending how large or small the project is, it could be as little as 2,500, could be as much as 15,000.
Mm.
I mean, even anodizing. What's anodizing?
Anodizing is like it's kind of electrocuting the aluminium into a colour.
So we know that powder coating, for those that don't understand what powder coating is, it runs through a line, whether vertical or horizontal, and somebody, whether it be, if it's a vertical, it's automatic. If it's horizontal, you would have somebody there with a gun full of powder, and would be spraying, like painting a car, right?
Yeah.
Like a panel beater,
Yeah.
spray painting a car.
Yep.
And they'd be spraying the aluminium, so that's powder coating. Then you've got different ranges, right? You've got your standard, you've got your premium, and then you've got your standard, mid, and premium style of powder coating.
Yeah.
All with different types of warranty.
Yeah, that's right.
And powder coat, you've got within 2 k's of the ocean, whether you're on the water or within 2 k's, a standard powder coat's not going to comply.
Yeah.
But it is cheaper, right?
That's right.
So your paint could fake, fade, or peel. If you went with the satin, it's going to go to matte.
Yeah.
So we highly recommend you use matte.
Yeah.
With anodizing, they actually soak the metal in a solution, in a vat, which then what happens is they have a set time and they have chemicals in there. There's a set time to give you a certain micron,
Yeah.
right? Micron is how treated the aluminium is.
Is it how long it sits in
How
the vat
long it
for?
sits in the vat
Yeah, that's what I
gives you
thought.
how long the microns are.
Yeah, anodizing is a funny one. Like it's very deep. Like you can
There's
go.
a science to it.
Yeah, there is a massive science because you can have 25 right?
Yes.
And you can get it done on Thursday, and
Yes.
then you can get it done next week, and there can be a variation in the
the
slight
colour.
variation in the color.
So when
Right.
people come to
Yeah.
us with a bronze or a black
we try
or
and do the
any
whole
colour,
thing at once. Yeah,
we highly recommend that you do all of it in
Yeah.
one go.
Yeah.
And not just, Bowie, the different days, different thicknesses of metal
yeah,
will be different colours.
Oh, you're joking.
No,
Okay.
I'm not joking.
See?
So if you have a 1.2 millimetre angle and you've got a 3 millimetre subhead,
Yeah.
the times that they sit in the vat have to be at a certain period of time, but the amount of the colour differentiation that you will receive from one to the other can be substantial, just from the thickness and the type of material.
No, right.
Yeah. So we're currently doing a very nice project at the moment,
In Drummoyne.
overlooking the Harbour Bridge, and that is a particular coloured anodizing, a bronze colour, but a Evershield, right? So
Which is your top?
that's the top of the range, right? So you've
Yeah.
got your standard anodizing, which can go
10
from
year.
10 UM. No, it's
10
just
UM,
10 UM standard. Comes with no warranty. So they're not going to give you a warranty.
that's your shop
certificate.
front.
That's your just
Yeah.
standard.
Yeah.
People run off the mill, internal, shop front. Some
Yeah.
people do it for homes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right, if you're not near the ocean, you're just going to use a standard clean eyes. It's
Yeah.
the cheapest.
yeah,
You've got your 15.
Then you got your 15 UM, and then you've got
20.
your 20 UM, and then 25 UM.
Yep.
Now, after that, you've got Evershield, which is warranty. They're going to give you warranty up to 30 years. Okay. Now, there's also a misconception within the industry. I've used 25 UM, so I've got warranty. But is 25 UM a warranty finish?
No.
No.
You have to get the warranty.
You have
There
to.
is there is a 25 UM
There is,
with warranty,
but you have to.
but you have to
request
nominate it. Yes.
and that is more expensive than just a standard
Yeah.
25 UM. See,
Yeah.
there's all these.
That's hard to understand, though.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the price difference is significant.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. And the misconception is, oh, well, if I've got 25,
Oh,
like what you said, yeah.
our
I've got warranty.
competitors, I'll just allow for 25 UM.
Yeah.
That's
Thinking
warranty.
that they'll warranty.
Thinking that
that's
it's
right.
warranty.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, are you getting a warranty certificate from your anodizer or powder coater? Is that being presented to you as the client or the builder?
No.
And if it's not, you need to request that.
Yeah.
So these are very important parts that need to be allowed for when you're doing a project, but are not talked about.
Yeah.
And that's why there's such a gap, a huge gap between prices.
Yeah.
You know, one company will tell you, yes, I've done bronze anodized,
Yeah.
but the other one's done Evershield. One will say it's warranted, but are they giving you a certificate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's the,
Because all the client will see is, well, they're both giving me bronze anodized, but they don't know that the other one has given them Evershield.
yeah. You get the warranty from the actual anodizers, whereas they'll get the warranty from the
company.
from the company.
The company who made it.
Who'll just say, yep, no worries, here you go.
Do you need a license to give a glaze certificate?
Yes, you do.
No, you don't.
Well, you should.
You should, but no, you don't. Do you need a license to give a warranty certificate?
No, but you should.
Well, the thing is, who's going to check it,
Yeah.
right? So these are all the other tricky things that are in our industry that a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah, it's the grey area.
But if you come to us and we're telling you we're using warranty and you request a certificate, you can know that you're going to
You're
get
going to get it.
a proper certificate
Yeah.
that comes from our reputable suppliers,
Yeah.
right? Same with glass.
Mm.
Same with glass.
But then again, the client or the builder, they don't know to ask these things.
No, they don't.
And this is where we mark a difference, because we educate
Yeah.
the builder or the client on this, and this is what they should be requesting.
Yeah.
But we still always have a hurdle, right?
It's a fight.
Well, I
It's
don't call
based
it
on
a fight.
price.
I know you come to work with your mouth guard and your boxing gloves, but
Yeah.
I don't call it a fight, but I do call it misinformation
Yeah.
and
Or non-disclosure.
non-disclosure.
Choose
Yeah,
non-disclosure.
there's a lot of people that like to not be forthcoming,
That's
Yeah.
right.
especially in quotes. How many times have you seen with quotes where you just see not even? I mean, Bowie, you had one the other
yeah.
day. Let's
I had
talk
one
about
that
that one.
I had one that I thought my 11-year-old son wrote up. You know, like
Did you see
It
a
was-
picture of a window?
I
or-
didn't see a
On
picture of a
Word
window.
document.
I saw, oh, man, it was like, I don't know, it was so generic and just so like non-forthcoming with any information at all. Window A, 638 glass, you know, subhead, subsill, like just trim angles, and that's it. Like
No
no pictures, no
size.
size, no detailed, no hardware specifications, you know, no ratings on performing glass, no acoustic ratings, and so on and so on. So yeah, you get some
and,
you get
and
some
it's
good
really
ones.
chalk and cheese, right?
Yeah,
Like-
and they're trying to, charge what we charge, and they're doing quotes like that. How are they going to pull off a job, up to standard, doing quotes like that? It just sort of sets their bar down here,
yeah,
whereas they look at our quote and they're just like, take 2 steps back.
because what did they say when they got your quote, Bowie?
Oh, he was like, I swear, it's like he read it, saw the loom, and then just emailed me straight out. Oh, thanks very much, mate. That's very detailed and da-da-da-da. Can we come into the showroom? Boom. It's like that.
When you get a quote that is so detailed, does it give you peace of mind?
It gives us peace of mind. It's probably overwhelming for the client.
Yeah. I mean, we've had some mixed reviews on our quotes, particularly our looms, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And some people have said, well, we're not going to watch it. But how does it make you feel knowing that you've sent that quote and you've sent that loom? Do you feel that there's any grey areas between our quote then that the client won't understand?
Oh, absolutely not.
I
I've
think
covered
that,
all our bases.
yeah, and I think that if they do still have questions or anything, I feel like they're more motivated to call us or ring us or reach out to us.
Because they can see us through the loom.
Yeah,
and we've put a face to the name,
Yeah.
and they know who they're speaking to when they pick up that phone.
Yeah.
So I just think it's a good connection, I guess, first connection, or, still with our regular clients, great view, Lou, man. Thanks heaps for that. It was really detailed. Just ring us to thank us for what
For
we've
the
done for them.
information we've
Yeah.
given to 'em,
Yeah.
because now they can pass that on and say, hey,
Yeah.
you got a problem in your design here. We've nominated it, like we've picked it up here, so we've done XYZ to correct it.
Yeah.
Please make sure that you show that
Yeah.
when you're
To your
comparing
client.
us
Yeah.
to somebody else.
That's right. Because builders need to know what we're doing and how we're doing it from the get-go, from like slab pour, because they need set downs. And if they don't know sizes or technical information about sills or what sill they're using, then they don't know where to put their set downs or steps
Finish
or
floor level,
all that sort of stuff. So
compliance.
they really need to know some details from the start. And then when we provide them with that and talk to them about sizing, and we send them shop drawings from the get-go as well. We send our quote, our shop drawings, and the hardware we're using, pictures of them, everything like that, and a loom, like just every bit of information. And sometimes they don't need to come back to us, but if they do, they've already got the ball rolling. So
They feel more confident coming
Yeah.
back to us because they know what's been included
Yeah.
and what not. And we've alerted them to things that they should take note of.
Yeah, how does your integrated drain work? Oh, okay, well, you've got to put pipe in and feed it and da-da-da. So we've got to put that in. So they've got to allow that in the slab as well.
With the plumbing.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So
Now we go on to, we touched on it as well, in regards to warranty certificates on the powder coating and anodizing and that process, but also the glass, right? So people don't ask, and it's something that's very important. If your glass is toughened, are you getting a toughening certificate from your supplier? A lot of people don't.
No.
So how do you know that glass is A-grade safety glass, is toughened correctly to Australian standards?
you get a stamp in the corner of the glass.
Well, that's one way. That's something that has to be done.
Yeah.
But also there is a certification for that company with that toughening machine that they have. So I used to get asked quite regularly, and it doesn't happen these days, but they asked me for a toughening certificate. Give me a toughening certificate. Because there was a company, and obviously I'm not going to name it, a couple of years ago, they were doing toughened glass, and they actually sent a piece of float out with a toughened stamp on it. Ooh. Now, for those that don't understand, float glass, annealed, breaks in big shards, right? It's not safety glass.
The one you see in movies back in the 80s.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
sugar.
they can cut you.
But if you broke your window at home and the ball went through the window and you've
That's
got
right.
big shards of glass,
Yeah.
that's float glass. So that's
right.
non-safety glass.
Yeah.
Would
Which
you
a lot of homes still do have. to
And
this
it's
day. A
compliant.
lot of the older homes.
It's
yeah.
compliant
Yeah, it's
to
all
put
compliant.
them in low lights. And and when we see a job like that come past, do we use float?
Well, we never use float.
I won't use it.
Again,
Would you
That's
use it
our
in your house, in your home?
no.
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
God, because
We've got kids.
it's just a
You got
danger.
kids.
Yeah.
I got
It's
kids, and it's
danger.
just a danger waiting to happen.
Even
So-
dogs.
So,
animals, yeah.
so then the moral of the story is, if you're not going to use it in your home, are you
Yeah.
going to give it to our clients?
No.
No way.
Okay. So then we go from float glass to laminated glass,
Which is a safety glass.
which is a safety glass.
Yep.
Once again, comes with a certificate, and every panel of glass should have a stamp on their corner to be compliant with AS 1288. Okay. AS 1288 is the Australian standard
Yep.
for glass.
Yep.
Okay. So a lot of companies, once again, they buy this glass from overseas. It hasn't got certificates, and they use it because it's cheap. Yeah. Now, to describe what a laminated glass product is, Yvonne, if you kicked a ball at it, what would happen to it?
It would so it's got an interlayer,
Yep.
so it holds together.
Yes.
But
It would crack.
It'd crack, but it'd stay up.
It
yeah,
stayed
it
together.
stays
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, laminated safety glass cracks, but it will 9 out of 10 times it's going to stay in place. So it's safety glass. It's not going to come down in a big shard and cut you up.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
You can just cover it up with a big piece of cardboard in the meantime.
In the meantime, there's no urgency unless it's popped through.
That's right.
You know?
And then somebody can
holds
come and...
together. It holds together. Even if you, I don't know, even if you put your bike through it or whatever, the glass is going to hold to that laminate and it'll crumple and go with that laminate, so it all sticks together. It doesn't, like float glass, shoot out shards and glass and shit flying everywhere. So.
Yeah. And then you got toughened glass.
Yeah.
So, Bowie, what happens with toughened glass when you break it?
Toughened glass, when you break it, well, it's pretty hard to break face on. That's the whole process of toughening. Ultra heat too.
You could hit it in the centre with a sledgehammer. And bounce
which I've done, and it just bounces right back at you, which I felt. 15 mil toughen with a sledgie won't happen, but if you hit that on the edge with, I don't know, a small little
it doesn't take much,
mate. It'll pop and it'll explode. But when the thing about toughen is when it explodes into millions or like hundreds of thousands of tiny little pieces. So it's not going to be, it'll cut you, it'll nick you and like give you nicks, but it's not going to slice arteries or anything like that.
So like your shower screens, people get
That's
shower
right,
screens
and they just crack and
pull
pop.
fencing.
Pull fence.
And they explode.
Anything frameless.
Yeah. So what the process of that is, they cut and process the float panel of glass or annealed. They put it through an oven and they heat it to melting temperature, and then they cool it down over a set period of time. Depending on the thickness of the glass, depends how long it's in the oven, how long they cool it down, and generally speaking, what happens is if the glass is it's got too much nickel sulfate in it, it should pretty much explode in the furnace or as it comes out and cools down. So that's that process. The glass itself is the weakest around the 2 millimeter edge or 2 centimeter edge around the edges.
That's right.
So you've seen those videos on YouTube. Bank robber goes to rob a jewelry store or whatever it is, and he's thrown a brick at the panel of glass and it's bounced off and it's knocked him out. You know, that was a panel of toughened glass.
That's right.
And from toughened glass, you then have toughened laminate. Right, so that's a panel of float processed, toughened, and then glued together, laminated with another panel.
Would that be a salt glass?
What do you mean salt?
A salt, the stuff that they use in jails.
Salt, no, a salt. So a salt glass is going to be a thicker laminate, okay, and generally speaking, not necessarily you're going to use a heat strengthened. You'll use toughened lam. Okay, but it's the thicker laminate, okay, and this type of laminate. So you've got PVC, and you got SGP, and there was another one there that I can't quite recall, but those are different types. So you'd probably use a salt the thickness 1.52 would be a salt. So generally the thickness of a standard laminate is 0.38. Okay. And it goes up by 0.38 millimetres, so the next one was going to be 0.76, okay? You also do have the acoustic laminate, which is 0.5, right? But then you go up from there, so it's 1.52, and I do believe they can make thicker laminates as well. But you're going to get a toughened panel laminated together, and it's going to be toughened laminate. And then from that, you also go to the next step, which is your heat strengthened laminated. Heat strengthened or heat soaked. Heat soaked is actually treated with a chemical. Heat strengthened is when they toughen the panel of glass. So all glass has nickel sulfate in it. Okay, it's a chemical that when you see those pool panels just spontaneously combust, it's the nickel sulfate.
It's reached a certain temperature.
It's the chemical, and it could happen because the glass has been heated and then drastically cooled. So when you see it in summer, you see lots of sun on the pool fence, and then all of a sudden clouds come over and it drops 15 degrees and bang, panels start exploding. That's nickel sulfate in glass doing that. And what heat strengthening actually does is it keeps it in the oven for longer. And if it is going to explode, it will do it in the furnace because now you've extracted the nickel sulfate out of glass. So with glass that's for prevention, with glass that's overhead, you should be heat strengthening or heat soaking that panel. Okay.
What about curved glass?
Curved glass? No, that's different.
that's-
It comes to the human factor, you know. Is that panel going to kill somebody or hurt somebody? A standard laminate panel in a roof, okay, we see that a lot. Like back in the day, done a lot of pub jobs. I just put 10-3 up there. But the thing is, if the panel breaks, it can still fall, and if it falls in a big sheet.
Yeah, that's right.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's where, you know, that's extremely dangerous, you know. But then you've got tougher laminate. That's another one. Well, if that panel blows up, right, if both panels blow up, that whole sheet is coming down.
Yeah.
So that's why you wouldn't use tougher laminate in an overhead panel as well. It'd be a heat strengthened or heat soaked, depending on what your engineer requirements are.
Yeah.
So there is a certain level that us as estimators could go to, correct?
Yep.
AS 2047.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that's in that standard, because that AS 2047 is the standards of windows and doors.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can go to that extent because have you done your certification for AS 1288?
Yes.
Yvonne?
Yes.
You've done some other certifications as well. Same with you, Bowie.
I have, yeah.
You've done win rating as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're allowed to go to a certain standard, but after that, we need to engage an engineer.
Yeah.
We use a facade engineer that is probably one of the best in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
I've been using him for a very long time, Isaac Little from
Yep.
Alco. Shout out to him. And it's important that we go to that step because we can't certify it.
Yeah.
But a lot of guys don't, or a lot of people don't. A lot of companies don't. They just say, we're going to use this, and okay, our price is 100 grand, their price is 50 grand.
Yeah.
But now you've used a different product.
Yeah, and in 1 year, if that thing explodes and lands on someone and kills someone,
Who goes to jail?
mate, someone's someone's on the hunt
Yeah.
for the blame.
And
so.
my point of view has always been I'm not willing to go to jail for anybody. Like, I love my family.
Well, what have you always said, Chris? I can go to bed at night and
Sleep easy.
Sleep
lay straight in bed and sleep easy, knowing that all the boxes have been ticked.
Yeah, and I think that's a very important thing for myself is to be able to, you know, as soon as I'm in bed, I'm out. I mean, I wake up very early, but you know, lying straight in bed and shooting straight is very important. I think you guys both share that as well. Your morals in regards to doing the right thing. You know, you're not going to try and do anything dodgy to win a job,
No,
are you? Why?
of course not.
Is it worth it?
No.
It's not definitely not worth it. Like I've seen the shit show on site and the aftermath of trying to do something that's outside of the realms, and mate, it buries you.
Yeah.
It really does. And then everyone else is in a bad way after that. And the client's upset because he's not, you know.
You've left a bad taste in everyone's
The
mouth.
builder's got the shits. Like he's off you. He's off everything, right? It just follows you around. So if you do it right from the get go,
Yeah.
Done.
then you're
Sleep
like
easy,
happy
right?
days. Yeah, we're all good.
And being transparent.
Yeah. You got to tell them why you did it, why you did this, why you are doing this, why you've used certain things, so that they understand, you know, what's going to happen down the track as well.
And then I think another thing. So after you move from the heat strengthened laminated glass, which is obviously a panel of float, toughened, then processed further and made into a heat strengthened, then laminated. Then you have heat soaked, which is a very similar process, but then soaked in a solution. Those panels are overhead glazing, roof glazing, walkways. You know, you see the bridges.
Oh,
you
the
walk on.
trafficable glass. Yeah.
Anything trafficable should be at that extent. The thickness is determined on the engineer. It has to do with the pitch and the weight and everything else as well. Then you go to double glazed units. All right, you've got standard double glazed, which is just float, with air. So inside the double glazed unit, instead of filling it with a argon gas, which is more expensive, but only $10 a square meter more expensive.
Yeah.
So it's very minor,
Yeah.
but the values and performance is better.
Ways better. Yeah.
Huge.
And again, that's where we stand, apart from the rest.
Do we use air?
Never.
No, always argon.
Why not air?
Because we're trying to meet ratings and get these numbers down, and we're going to get there using argon, not with air.
Not just that. I think air heats up a lot, and the transfer of that heat. If we're hitting the center of the glass unit because it's air, and that's heating up. What's going to happen to that hot
It'll
air?
go
in the
through.
car? It's going to go through, right? So with the argon, it's actually going to not heat up. And there's studies, and I've seen some videos on YouTube as well. Put your hand up against. I mean, you've got that double glazed unit just standard clear. It's even worse than that. We've got argon in there.
Yeah.
But if it was just air, it's just coming straight through. You might as well just have a single panel of glass, right? You've got standards with double glazed units, AS 4666. And with that standard, did you see the video where we went around and Jeff and I went around to AGG and we had a look? And
they do a testing on
testing the glass.
Before it goes into
AGG, very reputable company.
Yep.
They're AS 4666 compliant.
Yep.
And they're constantly testing their glass.
Yep.
But there's a lot of guys out there that are doing double glazed, non-compliant, or non-certified.
Certified, yeah.
So that certification actually ensures that unit from failure. So in 5 years' time, you're not getting condensation inside your glass, right?
Yeah, I've been at a job, and been 3/4 of the way through a massive job, and I've had the client ring me on the weekend. Hey mate, do you know one of these glass panels have blown up? I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, yeah, one of these double glazed units have blown up. I've arrived to site, 3/4 built site, and a double glazed unit that's just exploded. No one's there. It's on the weekend, in his bedroom, half built, so it's still getting the job is still getting done. But this panel of glass in the window system has been in there for months, and he's walked in on the weekend, and the thing's lying on the glass is lying on the floor, like a double glazed unit. So, it goes to show that when you get the test out, and there was no certification on those panels of glass. So, also we had to fork out the money to put a new double glazed unit in and clean it all up.
When you could have used somebody in the first place and you wouldn't have had that problem. But also the units themselves can fog up inside.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
because,
we've seen that.
But that can come from multiple reasons.
Yeah.
Did they install it correctly using the correct blocks? Because we put blocks under the glass to lift it up from the aluminium.
Yeah.
And if they didn't use the correct block, then did it pierce the internal gas or air?
Yeah.
Right?
Is it leaking?
Is it leaking there?
Yeah.
So if it has been installed correctly, then the next question is the glass AS 4666 compliant?
Yeah.
If it's not, okay, do we have a double glazed unit that's failed? And there's a lot of guys out there that are making double glazed units that don't have certification, that don't do testing. They
bought the machine and away
they
they
the
go.
machine and away they go. And you're relying on them to have done it properly.
Yeah, that's right.
But where you go, so that they can do a lot of double glazed units without certification, but they can't do soft coated. So soft coated are your AGG, Lowy Prime, your Viridian, Lightbridge, your 7035, your Performer Tech.
Yeah.
Another name for it is Luxtech, 8060. Glass Tech have their own brand. G. James have brought out their own brand as well of soft coated glass as well. We had them come in the other week.
Yeah.
So all these high companies that are well established, they're sort of the guys that are using soft coated. And they're the ones that are going to, give us the best units that are compliant, So I think understanding that you got a double glazed unit from this company, but you got one from, let's say you get one from us, is this one AS 4666 compliant? Do you care about it right now because right now you just saved $10,000? Probably not. But if this is your forever home, in 5 years' time, you're getting condensation on your unit.
Oh, you'll lose your shit.
But not just, not just will you get upset. Where are you going back to?
That's 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Where do I start?
So, I mean, technically, the legislation states that it's supposed to have 7 years warranty. They've changed that, right? From your manufacturer, from manufacturer's warranty. And that's why 7 to 10 years warranty is standard. But on your install, you're only going to get how long warranty?
1 year.
12 months
12
from
months.
anybody.
Yeah.
And after that 12-month period, a lot of people are going to do what? Wipe their hands of it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, well...
That's a variation, mate.
Well, hang on. that double glazed unit didn't fail. Something's happened to it
Yeah.
because the builder did this. Or,
Yeah,
They
the
passed
blame
the buck.
starts
Yeah.
going on.
But we can replace it for you. Here's $5,000.
That's right, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? When
Yeah.
really it's not a homeowner problem or fault, but it becomes their problem.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, well, do you spend that money on the front foot to protect yourself later,
Yeah.
or do you save yourself first to potentially cost yourself later?
Down the track, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and that's the misconception with, with everything that we're sort of talking about based on price is, the money up front or the money down the road.
line.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's hard for you to determine an exact figure
Yeah.
on how much somebody can save by paying more for their windows, right? But they do say that you will save 1/3 of your electricity by having a good window and door system.
Yep.
And that's a lot of money.
That's big.
It can be huge. But not just that. How do you put a price on comfort?
Well, you got a view outside what you were saying, Yvonne, with the ocean and everything like that. You don't want to block it off half block it off with wall and insulation and everything like that. You want it to be all glass so you can see all your view.
Yeah.
With that, cops your morning sun, just hammering through there. So you want to repel all that as much as you can, but still be able to see out of it.
I think there's nothing worse than sort of sitting down for breakfast and you've got the aircon on and it's just so hot coming through those windows.
Yeah.
Right?
You can feel the heat. You can stand next to that. If it's
touch
not...
it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't even touch it because it's that hot,
You're
right?
like, wow, yeah.
And same with the cold. Like, well, first of all, it's winter. It does get quite cold. Like,
Yeah.
I think we've been, -5 or something before. We've had snow in the Blue Mountains.
Yeah.
Getting up and having a shower in the cold is pretty hard.
Yeah.
But sitting down at home is not enjoyable if you've got a lot of cold coming in winter either, is it?
Yeah, that's right.
And you've got the heaters on. You can't keep the place warm.
Yeah, you got to sit right on top of the bloody heater just to stay warm.
So how do you?
Because you got leaks all through the house. You got leaks through your windows. You got 4 mil float glass.
Yeah. So how do you put a price on that comfort?
Yeah.
How do you put a price on it? Like if you're building a home today, what windows are you going to be using it on?
The other thing too with windows and doors is it's not. It forms part of the wall, but it's also an operation as well. It's a daily activity using these things. Like these things are open, close, open, shut. In, out, da 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 da. They're getting used. They're getting used and used and used. So, it's not. It's not just put in, job done, walk away. That's it. Like, it's an ongoing. There's a maintenance
for the end user.
Yeah, like you're constantly using it. These mohairs that you're rubbing up against, they're going to free up a little bit. Like there's going to be changes within the door system as well.
Okay, so you guys, both of you, a question for you both. What type of windows are you going to use in your house? If you were to build a new house tomorrow?
I'm going to use Reynaers.
What we know now.
Well,
knowing what we know now, I think I would spend, a big chunk of my money budget on the windows and doors because walls are walls, right? Yeah. Walls, you can achieve an RW and an energy, what is it? An energy rating in cladding as well as brick veneer or double brick.
Yeah.
So I'd spend most of my money on the windows and doors.
With me, it's going to be all about the direction of the sun, the view. If I was to build a new home looking at the ocean, I'm going to use the best that I can possibly get because I'm going to maximize that whole wall that's facing the ocean with glass. And with that comes the wind, comes the salt, and also comes the morning sun as well. So I'm going to try and spend my money on the best that I can get to counteract all those elements, and then stand inside and just go, stand inside with my undies just going, this is great. I feel awesome,
Can we get a picture of you in your undies?
Sure.
Looking over the Harbour Bridge. I think you're right. Like, a lot of people undervalue
Yeah.
the windows and doors
Yeah.
that they put in their home.
Yeah.
And
It's like they try and subsidise it with, joinery or other things like that.
They want the best.
And
Cut
it's-
finishes.
or,
like,
Or
little
floorboards.
little fluffy bits, like there, but
all the nice looking stuff.
yeah, but they can, they can really maximise
their comfort.
and the facade of their house with glass and the doors and the operation and everything like that. Like, also, there's nothing probably worse than seeing a house with 4 or 5 different types of window systems without little lines and different bits and pieces all
Because they're trying
going
to
on
save
everywhere
money
because
here, there, and everywhere.
and it just there's no flow or continuity to it. But you take up a big massive stacking door on your back balcony that overlooks the mountains or the ocean or whatever you want to look at. Mate, there's nothing. You'll sit there at that table at dinner time or whatever, and you'll be talking, and you'll just stare. You just stare out because there's just so much to look at. You've got maximising this view, and there's just so much to look at. It's next level.
It was a topic that we had spoken about amongst the three of us the other day. Is the whole point of doing this content or this podcast is to inform and educate. The end user, to bypass the builders and go direct to the end user and educate them on the world of windows and doors, right? How many times do we see it where a builder will come to us, right, to do a project home, and not a project home, but a client's home, and go, I'm going to actually use this company, being the cheapest company out there, one of those sausage factory companies, and we're not going to name anybody because we don't do that. That's not. Look, I think the important thing to note is one thing you'll never get from any of us at CVD is we'll never badmouth another company, right? That's number one. We don't do that. We don't need to do that to make ourselves look better. What we try to do is try to educate people to say, hey, look, they might have done X, Y, Z, but they've done that, saving you this money. But if you actually did this, you're going to receive such a greater value and benefit of doing that. How many times do we see it where a builder goes to that sausage factory company to get the windows and doors for their client, but when they go to build their own house or do their own renovation?
I got a call yesterday.
What happened?
He wants to build his home. So he's coming to us.
Yeah. We've had it a lot. We're doing a big one in Sylvania Waters.
Yeah. We're doing a big one at the moment. I think we've got a couple at the moment
where it's their
pride and joy.
And they've come to us. We've tried to get in, and they've gone to the sausage factory time and time again because they're doing developments and whatnot. So it's all about the money. But finally, they're doing their property. They're only using us,
and because
they want the best.
They want the best.
That's right.
Right, and they want quality. So what we want to do is arm the clients with the information and the knowledge to be able to say to their builder, hey, who are you using for our windows?
Yeah.
What system are they using? What are they doing? Have you gotten a price from XYZ? Whether it's us or whether it's somebody else, but essentially. Because once you build a house, the builder's got a fixed price with you or a cost plus. General people do not understand windows, right? Like they don't. How many times do we get clients come in and go, wow, I didn't know there was so much involved in windows. I thought it was just off the shelf.
Yeah.
The
I feel overwhelmed.
The common word is wow.
Yeah.
Because A, the showroom.
Oh, the showroom.
And B, God, it can be anything. It can be anything from colour. Yep. Oh, wow, that's
different types of colours and warranty and
all
the glass.
Yeah, the glass, the sills, the interlocks, like what you were talking about, the interlocks on the stack of doors.
The slim interlocks are our standard.
The hardware.
Yeah,
hardware. Oh, this flush pull, this is really nice.
It feels really solid.
It's not some, great big D handle that they're used to seeing on sliding doors,
Or it's not just, a building company that imports a bucket ton of them and sells them for $2.50 down the street.
Right, yeah.
Like a lot of guys are trying to cut corners to save money on hardware. Yeah. I mean, but we get it all the time, especially the clients that come in and they sit with us, and that's why it's extremely important. If you want to come in and you want to see us and get a price from us, you have to make an appointment, right? Because we need that time.
Yeah.
And that time's really for us to go through the plans, to understand the client's needs and wants
thoroughly,
and what their non-negotiables are, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, you had a meeting in the showroom a few weeks ago where you had two couples come in. And generally that doesn't happen because we only do one at a time. And I came in and got a little bit bombarded. So straight into action, I went and helped you. And you'd like to think that they left there knowing so much more about windows and doors.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're informed. And same when Bowie, when you have your clients come in, the feeling that they have after they left, after they leave you or leave the appointments that they have with us, would you say it's full of confidence?
Oh, 100%, because everything that I've quoted for or allowed for on the quote, they've been able to see live, in action, operation, and visually, and it just brings a world of confidence. Like I had a client from Giroa. He came up, I quoted on his price. He's all happy with everything and everything's good. But he was coming up from Giroa back to his house in Redfern.
Yeah.
And I said, mate, please call in. Come and see me. You know, he's a nice guy, chat to him. Come and see me on your way through. Okay, yeah, no worries. I have my wife with me. We'll come in. And they came in. I showed them around. Mate, they left there. They were just like over the moon. Like a couple of small little changes. Yeah. And he's like, yep. Mate, this is great. Like, thank you so much for telling me to come here and asking me to come here. It's like so beneficial, and I hear that all the time.
Makes a difference.
All the time.
Yeah,
yeah.
And it's just amazes me that the builders in particular, are happy to sort of cut those corners and save that money and go to that extent to use, whether it's imported products, right? Like you could say, do we import any products?
Nothing.
Do we go out and import our glass?
All onshore.
I think the only thing we import is, that we get is Parkwood doors from
just about to say that,
New
Zealand.
Zealand. But is that importing New Zealand? We own them.
No, we don't. They're our cousins.
They have Russell Crowe, but we claimed him, right?
Yeah.
So
and Sam Neill.
But yeah, you're right. Like Parkwood doors, they make a beautiful thermally broken aluminium panel door.
Yep.
They also make great timber doors. So we've got them on display in the showroom, and they're an amazing product, right? We sell quite
and they're very they're becoming more and more common.
More and more common. The front entry of a home.
Yeah.
Very easy to deal with.
And they don't have to.
I was just about to say great suppliers.
Yeah, and the clients are like, oh my God, like, no maintenance for how long? Like they're all over it. Yeah. So.
But I mean, in regards to our aluminium system, so for those that don't understand who we use at the moment, we're using who?
We use Alspec.
And?
Reynaers.
We're going to be using Reynaers.
That's
so
right.
Now Reynaers is Belgium company from Belgium.
Yeah.
They make a thermally broken frame.
Yep.
They are, I would probably say they're world leaders in the thermally broken space.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
There's only 5 fabricators from what we know that are using Reynaers at the moment in New South Wales. And so it's a very tight...
Yeah, and I don't think they're going to put on any more. I think that's it. I don't want to...
It's hard to start with them. There's a lot involved, right?
You have to relearn everything.
You have to be at a certain level and have a certain skill set. They don't want their product going out
that's right.
made poorly or installed poorly. So there's
they don't have a customer service centre.
There's a lot of quality control with them, right? Yeah. And then Alspec. Yep. I mean, we don't use... I want to name any two other... There's a couple of big players in the market. There's one competitor, which is AWS Vantage, right? And then you've kind of got Alspec. You do have another one, Dali, but I don't see them as on the same playing field. No. For many years, Alspec have spent a lot of their time specifying commercial projects.
Yeah. With window and door systems, 100%.
Window and door systems. And we started in the commercial industry, and we pivoted after COVID into the high-end resi because there's too many guys out there cutting corners. Yeah. So let's shake it up. Yeah. So I mean, Alspec do have a bit of a presence in the residential market as well. They've got a good frame. Carina 92 is a good system. Yeah. It's good for the pocket as well as performs well and looks good. Yeah. And then obviously you've got Dali. They're importing their product from China. And then you've got a couple of other companies that are copying sections and bringing it in from overseas, right?
And labelling it.
And labelling it and trying to pass all the tests or
Yeah.
produce dummy tests. And once again, we're not going to name those companies, but we don't do that.
Yeah, what I've noticed with, because I've seen it firsthand, you take a section that's come over from China
or Malaysia,
absolutely mirror image of an Alspec say frame.
Yep.
The most common being the 100 by 45 center pocket frame. You one from China, one from Alspec. Cut it in half, and the wall, which is the thickness of the actual aluminium, is half the size of the one that's from Alspec. Right. So you think that half a size from China's going to rate with wind loads
and
or
you wouldn't
deflection.
know that unless
Yeah.
you wouldn't
We
know.
know.
Once it's installed. You won't know that.
You wouldn't.
We know,
until
but
something happens.
that's right. But a lot of people don't know now.
And that's what's great about Alspec, because they've got proven
Testing.
compliance
Yeah.
testing,
Rigorous testing,
bowel,
Yeah.
acoustics,
everything. Now, when you put them on a scale, they do weigh different, right? And people don't understand, but I just want to inform everybody that when you're paying for aluminium, you pay per kilo.
Per kilo, yeah.
So you're paying for the weight. You're actually not paying per length. You're paying for the weight. Sorry. So turn my alarms off. No more. No one.
That doesn't turn off on airplane mode.
No. So, when you're talking about aluminium sections, you're talking about weight.
Yeah.
Right? So these other companies are cheaper because the metal's thinner, weighs less. It's not going to perform as good, right? But also, a lot of them don't have the performance certificates that you're meant to have.
Yeah.
But without the industry regulation, I mean,
They
there's
won't be held
nobody's
accountable.
going to hold anybody accountable. It's only until somebody dies that will something change.
And that's the unfortunate thing. I think that's a very generic thing within, not just our industry, but a lot of them. Until, something serious happens like death,
change.
Nothing will change.
I mean, look at the building industry.
I was just about to say that the cladding in that
from
building.
London Fire.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now look at it. Look at the
Now
silicosis in the
kitchen tops.
Yeah.
Bench tops.
And look at the building now, right? Like the buildings in, I think there was one. There was a big building in Castle Hill that started cracking and whatnot, and after that,
there's one in Parramatta.
top lace went bust, right? And a lot of people are getting hurt, or a lot of people are losing all this money in apartments, so they bring in the building commissioner.
Yeah,
but they don't have a commissioner, or they don't actually enforce anything with windows and doors.
No,
and it's sad. And I think, do you know what? There is a lot of people doing the right thing, like us. And there's many others that are also doing the right thing, but there's a lot of guys out there that aren't.
Yeah.
But how do you know? Well, what are some checkpoint questions that potential clients should be asking their builder about the window company? Do they have a contractor's license? I'll start. Do they have a contractor's license?
Yeah.
Do they have a supervisor's license? Because like in New South Wales, you don't need licenses to install windows.
No, you don't.
In residential applications. But if you want to change the glass in the Opera House, I need certification because it's commercial. Are they a member of AGWA? Now, a lot of people say, well, AGWA doesn't do anything. But do you know what? Having a membership with AGWA
just gives credibility.
Because the fact is every year we're audited. Okay, so a lot of other companies in the industry aren't members of AGWA. They're like, I'm not paying the money. They don't do anything. They're toothless. But in actual fact, they are trying to make change.
Yeah.
Right? And they are trying to lobby the government.
Yeah. It's not easy.
It's not. And a lot of people, if we had the industry regulated, a lot of people would be closed tomorrow.
You'd see half the industry
gone.
shut.
Yeah.
These guys that are making windows off the back of their utes and in the backyards. See you later. But with AGWA, they come out, they test your windows, they make sure you're compliant, and they will try to hold their members accountable to the extent that they will say, hey, this is wrong, don't do that, or here, have some information, or rectify this. or we'll cancel your membership. So for me, having Agua as a membership with Agua, to me holds some credibility and weight, right?
Yeah.
Other things is certification.
Yeah.
Who are they? What supplier are they using? Where do they get their product from?
Is their product certified?
Is their product certified?
Yeah.
Where do they manufacture? Right? And what are they using subcontractors to install?
Yeah, that's a big one.
That's
that
a
gets
big
us.
one.
Huge one.
Yeah.
What fixings are they using to install? Are they zinc? Are they stainless steel? I mean, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day. His window company were using zinc-plated screws to screw the frames together. Now,
Oh, really?
I know you're looking at me because you're not sure where I'm going with this, but let me give you an explanation of zinc compared to stainless steel. If you put a lot of pressure on zinc, it's going to snap. Okay? Stainless steel has a high tensile rating. Okay? So this company was putting zinc fixings in their doors, their ProGlide doors, lifting them up and banging them down, and something had happened, and these door rails are coming off. Because
Only
they're
that they
using zinc.
corrode.
Yeah, they corrode. So are they? We only use stainless steel.
You should only use
Stainless steel. From our screws in the factory to the fixings on site, we like to use stainless steel.
Yeah.
So that means that the boys are equipped with the right fixings on site, whether they're doing a job near the ocean or they're doing a job out west. So those are important. Is their glass certified? Are they buying it from onshore or offshore? Do they come with, whether it's the double glaze units, are they certified to AS4666? If they're not, well then how do I know that unit's going to last me 10 years? These are all questions that clients should be asking. Where's the evidence that the windows comply with the BASICs or NatHERS report? Can they provide that? Are they showing the ratings of their windows and doors on their quote? Yvonne, and Bowie, what have you guys been doing with your quotes? Have you been? What's a standard for us?
It takes more time, but in the long run, when the client gets the quote, they see the rating that they achieve and the rating that the window system we're potentially offering them, where that sits within the NADERS rating.
Yeah.
So,
and if
and
it
that's
doesn't,
every window system on every
noted.
window, down the page.
So are they forthcoming with that information? Are you seeing? Go.
Our quotes have all the included descriptions of what's been included for each frame.
Yep.
But are they sharing drawings? What do the windows look like? Are they sharing shop drawings?
Oh, probably not.
No,
I
this
don't
is a
think so.
question that we should be asking.
Yeah.
Are they sharing shop drawings? Are they sharing the hardware and the window schedule, or is it a written window schedule?
Yeah.
Mm.
When it's written, like you're getting anything,
caution.
like it just it just leaves it so open.
Yeah.
Where what we do, it's very detailed.
What warranty do they give on their system?
Yeah.
The product,
yeah,
and the installation. Yeah. Right. That's a
big one. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is the company willing to give me 24 months labour warranty on the installation?
Which we absolutely do as a standard.
That's a big one.
Yeah, it is.
People don't ask that question.
No.
But when they hear it,
sometimes it goes on deaf ears, though, don't you think?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like, oh, great, we got longer warranty.
It doesn't with the builders. The builders are like, oh, really? Like, so they know that they're sort of covered
because
for a couple of years. Because
it's important to the builder.
Yeah, because he's the one that's going to cop the call from the
That's
client
right. Yeah,
down the track.
that's one less
Not
call
us.
for him.
Yeah.
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 I think-
Another big one for the builder, not the client. The client wouldn't care. Is our installers? They all work on our books.
Yep.
They're not subbies.
Yep. And what is your quality process?
Mm.
Quality control. Do you have any quality control processes?
Yeah. His name's Bryce.
Yeah. I mean, do they
Paul.
do
Paul's
ITPs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any quality standards? From this company. I mean, the reason why we want to elaborate on all these questions is windows for a home aren't cheap.
No.
How what do you guys feel that some homes and duplex are spending on? Give us your worst case and your best case pricing. From a home and a duplex.
My recent worst case, and I knew it wasn't gonna, they were gonna fall off their chair. It was 282,000.
And what type of it was?
High performance.
Yeah.
There was thermally broken.
Yeah.
There was it was all double glazed. A hell of a lot of awnings, pro tilt awnings, which are obviously on the XE side, and that's why.
And what was your lower?
And high performing glass as well. The low E Max and to some windows and
now pair it right down to your single glazed or your standard double glazed.
I submitted one yesterday. It was 58,000.
Yeah,
for a duplex or for a house.
For what was it? No, it was a house.
Yeah. And what about you, Bob?
Duplex, I'd say high end would be anything around the 250 mark, like what you say.
Yeah.
Low end, I would probably say around the 60,000.
Yeah,
I'd
so
say
close
that's
to
a
mine.
50 mil resi suite with timber reveals.
50 mil.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So you're talking about a substantial amount of money, right? It can range from 15,000, right? Being maybe you're only doing
From
a
our
renovation.
opposition.
No.
Oh, from
Maybe you're doing a
renovation.
renovation, but if you're doing a new build on a home, depending on your specs, it's up around the $50,000 to $100,000 mark. Normal to mid range, right?
Yeah.
It can go up to as far as 200,000. 250,000 on the rare occasion, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've priced a project that we're currently working on. That's there is $1 million in a different branded window system and $500,000 in the window system we do. And that's a huge home. I mean, we're talking 12 bedrooms, not your average build, right? So when people are getting prices for like, $20,000 or $30,000 on a duplex, or even $70,000, $60,000 on a duplex, there's something not right.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the reason why I asked that question is when you're spending that type of money, it's a big investment.
Yeah.
I mean, when you buy a car, let's put it into that sense.
Well, yeah, it's a
you
big
just
investment.
go out and buy the cheapest car.
No, it's a big investment because you use it every day.
Yeah.
You use your windows and doors every day. You're going to use your car every day. Yeah, exactly.
So when you went and bought a car, or you went and bought a car recently, what's the first thing that you go and check?
Well, warranties and what
Reliability,
is
the reputation, reputable.
Like you read the reviews on the car. Like you do your background work before you go in and start actually looking, because what you want to try and do. How many car companies are out there? Probably about 100. So, how many glass and aluminium companies are there? Probably 200. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But so you want to funnel that into what? Maybe 5 or 6.
Yeah.
How are you going to do it? You're going to do it by word of mouth or by say a review, Google review, Reddit review, whatever.
Yeah.
You're going to try and find something to funnel all that into 5 that you can put your concentrate.
But a lot of clients but they may not have the time to do that, and they rely on their builder to deliver them.
For sure.
But that's part of the reason why we're filming this is to arm them. I mean, are you gonna tell your builder to go out and buy me a car? Here's $50,000.
If that's what he did for a job.
Would you do that? And then if you got the car, and you weren't happy, what do you do?
Start digging the knife into him.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, the moral of the story is if you wouldn't just let somebody else buy a car for you that you're going to like for the next, how long are you going to have the car for? 10, 15 years, depending on how
using
long
it
you
every
have
day.
Using it every day. Yeah. Why are you handing the keys over to the builder to let him go out and buy your windows for you when you're spending anywhere from $50,000 and upwards? Yeah. It's a lot of money.
Yeah. You want to do your own research. You want to do your
own. Would you not advise also to, once you do your checks on your certification, I understand you said before, Yvonne, that you may not have time, but when you look at a car, do you go out and see the dealer and have a look at the car? Do you test drive it?
Yeah, you need to make time for those.
And if the dealer would look dodgy, would you buy it from him?
Of course not.
So if your window company that you're looking at using doesn't have a showroom, it hasn't got somewhere for you to go and feel and touch. Does that not go to you? Maybe I need to think about this major purchase.
Yeah.
Because this is going to be my forever home.
Yeah.
Right. And do your due diligence.
That's right.
We touched on double glazing before. We touched on single glazing. Let's talk about acoustics just briefly. Tell me, guys, do double glazed units perform better than acoustic glazing?
No.
Acoustic single can perform the same, if not better, than a double glazed unit, depending on what is in the double glazed unit.
So
There's a lot of options. But
so people have this misconception.
yeah,
Right. Oh, I need good acoustics.
Yeah.
double glazed.
Give me double glazing.
They automatically.
Yeah.
Go double glazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wrong.
Yeah.
Don't ever go there. The best acoustic glass is 12.5 VLAM hush. Okay. The glass alone rates RW value 40. Okay. Your best double glazed unit, I believe, is only going to get you around the RW 36. Okay. 4 points different. You say, oh, well, what's 4 points? Well, 4 points
It's
is
a lot.
big difference.
Yeah, even one's a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
4 points is a big difference. The double glazing, you're not gonna. There is no way that you can get it. Your unit would need to be like 100 millimeters. Huge. And the reason is because of the sound waves, right?
Yeah.
That's why we also have acoustic framing. Yeah, and then with acoustic framing, it's a large frame. Let's say it's 100 mil, and then you've got one panel on the outside. You've got a 50 mil gap and a panel on the on the inside, and then you've got 150 mil with a bigger gap on the inside. Now that's going to perform even better.
Yeah.
Right. So now we talk about the best ratings. Now you can go online to Viridian's website, and you can put in acoustic performance of glass, and it's going to pull up all the different types of glass units, some double, some single, and some acoustic rating. And it's going to show you what their RW value is. This value is extremely important,
But that's
Very
only
important.
on glass.
It's on glass.
Not inside the frame.
Now, science and mathematical calculations and what has been tested with that glass, if you're going to pick up a glass rating with an RW, let's say 40, once you put it in the frame, it's going to lose at a minimum 1 to 2 RW points.
Yeah.
And that's what's been displayed in acoustic reports from Alspec and the glass that you've lost. So we always go to the extreme.
Yeah.
If we're going to use 12.5, it's going to maximum lose 2 points in a frame. So now it's RW 38.
Yep.
And we do that all the time. Now, the other point of view is acoustic laminates are more expensive than standard laminates. Correct?
Yep.
But with some standard laminates, you're going to meet the same values with some acoustic. For instance, the other day, they specified
12.5.
10.5.
10.5.
Yeah.
And it gives us the same, 12.38 gives you the same rating as a 10.5.
Right.
So in correspondence, 12.38 laminate is a 0.38 laminate, it's thickness of the bonding
layer.
agent in between the two panels.
Yeah.
That's going to set you back, let's say, at an estimated $95 to $100 a square metre, rough price.
Yeah.
The 10.5 is going to set you back, let's say, $200 a square metre.
So there's your cost saving.
Massive.
Yeah.
But the values are the same.
That's
right. Yeah.
So, the misconception that acoustic laminate is better than standard laminates as well is also not 100%.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need to go to that one thicker panel.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the same with 6.5. 6.5 VLAM hush. It's going to perform just as good as 10-8.
Right. That's right.
Right? So, 10-8 is a common panel, and that's going to set you back around $65 a square metre. 6.5 is going to set you back $100 a square metre.
Yeah.
So, once again, that is important to note as well.
And you can, you get your low E as well.
You've got low E too, right?
Low E on acoustic glass.
Yeah.
Well, you've got comfort hush, and then you've also got 6-8, 10-8, 12-8 of the low E. And for those that don't know, in most cases, 10.38 Comfort Plus Clear performs just as good as a 24mm double glazed unit using 6mm clear, 12mm argon, 6mm clear as an energy rating in the window. And once again, they're very much the same.
Yeah.
So, look, I think we've covered so much today for people to sort of take in.
You certainly have.
I can't wait for our next episode because we're going to be able to talk even more in depth to arm the end consumer with knowledge and information and how important it is to understand windows and doors.
Which it is.
We can talk hours and hours about windows and doors.
Till we fall asleep.
Yes.
And you know, we welcome anybody to reach out to us, you know, at CVD.
Just with questions. And
if you have questions, or if you're following us and you're watching this episode and you want to learn something new, drop it in the comment section below. Reach out to us, send us a message. Follow us on Instagram, at CVD Glass. We're on TikTok. You guys are starting to become a bit more prevalent on the social media scene with CVD, which I think is fantastic. Stay tuned. We've got another episode coming up very soon, and we're very excited to share that with you.
Cool. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.